and I will get INFJ. Welcome to Cliff Chang's first ever podcast on Cliffsitems channel. I know what you're thinking. Cliff, can you just do one format of content on here? Like, seriously. Like, stop doing all these different types of contents, because I'm confused about whether or not you're a podcaster, or you're a vlogger, or you're a gamer, or you a card break opener, Pokemon collector, Yu-Gi-Oh collector. What the fuck are you, you piece of motherfucking shit? Well, I'm here to tell you that I like doing a little bit of everything. Is there something wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with somebody who likes to do a little bit of everything? Come on, bro. Seriously. But this is my first ever podcast. I decided to do this on a whim because I do have some hand eczema going on right now that I'm struggling with. It's terrible. It's one of the worst eczema cases I've ever had on my body. It's about a patch that's about 2 inches in diameter. Jesus. But that's not the point of today. Today we're going to talk about something that I think might be worthwhile talking about today with y'all. So, honestly, I think this is kind of cool. I don't have to show my face. I just have to talk, and I don't mind it. I like talking. It's a fun thing to do. For the longest time, just straight up talking into a microphone and not really having much else besides just your voice has been something that has been seen as, I guess, inferior to other forms of medium. But when you have two people and they somewhat disagree with each other, or they have some sort of conflict with each other, it seems much more interesting for some reason. People enjoy seeing conflict between two people, and it's entertaining. It's entertaining when two people disagree about something, and there's some sort of issue that arises when two people have differing views, and that's what makes, 2020 and 21 so interesting, is that we just disagree about a lot of things, right? You know, we have the left and the right in the United States. We have the Democrats and Republicans, and that's interesting, right? We have two different factions, two groups, and we kind of want to see each other duke it out and see who wins. Makes it a lot interesting, right? It's like seeing two football teams go against each other, right? It's like seeing, I don't know, the Miami Dolphins versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know. I don't follow football. It is football season. It's almost the Super Bowl. And how's that even go this year? You know, like, are they just gonna show up and have no audience and just, COVID's just been such a weird year for everybody. Mostly because we've never experienced anything like this before, right? It just came out of nowhere. Just came out of fucking nowhere. We were all living our lives normally in the year 2020. 2 months in, we're thinking, hey, it's a new decade. We have a completely new start. Donald Trump's going to lose the election. We're going to have a new president. We're going to have Joe Biden as our new president. And everything's going to go back to normal. The way things were before the old Donald, right? The old Donnie Don. And what do you know? Things were just completely annihilated, if I may say. Things were completely destroyed and just completely dismantled in a very gruesome fashion, if you will, metaphorically speaking. But that's all right, because, we still pull together as a nation, as a people, on a, citizens of the world. We came together and we really we really got along after everything, right? We sort of banded together and said, hey, let's, instead of all this disagreement, let's just come together and just figure out how we're gonna overcome this pandemic. And surely enough, that didn't seem to work out very well, did it? We had maybe, like, according to Joe Rogan, who inspired this, my instinct to do this podcast today, it just was completely 2 weeks of maybe us thinking, hey, let's all come together, left, right, black, white, yellow. Nobody cares about yellow people. Just everybody comes together, and brown people, every type of people, and let's just set our differences aside and really just come together as a people, right? And as a people, and just agree that we all have a similarity. We have a similarity. We have something in common right now, which is we don't really want to have a pandemic. But yet again, we all suffered the consequences, did we not? Well, maybe some of us less than others, Amazon. But regardless, we all felt some sort of pain from this, of course. Maybe some more than others, too, Maybe everybody got a little bit of a pain. Everybody had, the pandemic made a jab on everybody. Every single group of person they kind of took a jab on, except for maybe Latino people, Latinx. I don't even know if they like to be called that, right? Some y'all Latin people out there are probably saying, like, what the fuck is going on? People are calling us different names and shit, and we had nothing to do with it. The fuck? Anyway, I am blabbering. Let's get into the real reason why I'm making this podcast, which is to talk about INFJ personality type, MBTI in general, and just personality psychology, and a little bit of just social psychology. That's what we like to talk about today. In the world today, we like to talk about that, right? So I really want to mention that, I don't really see myself as a person that is like MBTI first. It's something that I, have a passive interest in, and it always has been since, I was a theater kid in college and in high school. I loved acting and I loved performing. I wouldn't say the same anymore, just because I feel like it's just been tainted by some realizations that I've had about certain people in certain industries. I'm not going to name anything or any company or anything, but it just kind of took the allure away from me. And it's a shame. It's a shame that things have changed so dramatically. And I guess I just kind of woke up to the reality of what movies have done to, I guess not done, but what movies have portrayed Asians and Asian Americans as. It just kind of doesn't really, it's hard to ignore, which is a shame because I love film and I love what Hollywood and the film industry has built in the past couple decades and what it has made for people as entertainment. It's a beautiful art form. But, that's a whole nother tangent. And what I really want to say was, I'm interested in talking about social psychology on this channel because I am an INFJ and I love stuff like that, right? Shit like that. But, sometimes I'll try to not act so cool. I sometimes like to act a little cooler than I am on these things because, Well, sometimes I feel like that's the way I can get people's attention on this YouTube thing, but I need to remind myself that I could just be myself and not pretend like I'm somebody else. But sometimes I guess when I feel like I need to entertain people, I do kind of put that persona on, but I will try not to do that. I'll try my best because I think that is what is thriving today is podcasts, because it's the final frontier of where we can just fully be ourselves and fully express ourselves in an authentic way. Okay, going into the main point of this podcast, which is INFJs versus INFPs. INFPs are different from INFJs. From the outside, and I just want to preface, I'm not an MBTI practitioner. I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm just a dude that likes MBTI and has read books and has studied it on the internet and has watched videos and has an opinion about things. And this is mostly anecdotal observation. This is mostly what I've experienced in my own life, and I can only speak from experience, and I think that might be, for the most part, some of the most valuable information that you can get from somebody. And I did test the official MBTI test, personality test, and it did get INFJ. And for those of you who are doubting me, I can take it all over again, and I assure you that I will get INFJ again. If you felt like there was a weird chop there, it was because I accidentally pressed the wrong button that messed up the pod recording. But anyway, we're back now. I will assure you that I will get INFJ again with 100% certainty that I will have that personality type, because I've observed my own psychology and behavior for so long now that there's no personality type that fits me. Not even close. Nowhere. No other personality type gets even close to describing who I am. Maybe the ENFJ description. That's the closest thing that I can think of. But INFJ truly suits me as a person, and I can assure you that I am an INFJ. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But so INFPs. Interesting, actually, just another quick side note is that when I was looking at the different personality types and was taking the test, there was a part of me that really wanted to be an INFP, because I feel like some of my favorite artists out there are INFPs, like Johnny Depp and Tim Burton and David Lynch, and a lot of a lot of whitey artists out there that I really enjoy. And I'm not trying to be racist, really. I'm just trying to say, like, hey, I like the white art. Okay, I really do. I'm not a Caucasian sympathizer. I'm not a, what do you call it? I'm not a person that sucks up, and people call me banana sometimes. They really do. But now I'm getting all flustered because I feel like I said something racist. I'm not racist, okay? I truly am not. I love the whites, and I love all colors of people. I really wanted to be an INFP. That's the point. I really wanted to be an INFP for some reason. I said that I wanted to be INFP because a lot of my favorite artists are. Yeah, but I wasn't. I tried hard to be. And I was like, why? I feel like the INFP kind of describes me better because I am artistic, and INFPs are described as artistic. I feel like the MBTI kind of talks about INFJs as we're kind of seen as like boring. Like, I feel like we're boring. Like, our description of us on the MBTI like results or whatever, it's always like, the results are always like, oh, you're best suited to be a cleric or a clergyman or a priest or a counselor or advisor. There's nothing that, it's like so plain. And I don't see myself that way as an INFJ. I really don't. And I had to dig in deeper. And it turns out that my INFJ, my Enneagram is is the Enneagram of is 4-wing 5 or 5-wing 4? I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I think it was 4-wing 5 or 5-wing 4, and that's a common Enneagram for INFPs, which explains why I relate to INFP so much more, and I gravitate towards INFP artists and art, because for the most part I feel like it represents me more, and it's something that I gravitate towards more than, an INFJ who's just like a counselor. And no offense to INFJs who are counselors out there. I'm not saying you're boring. I'm just saying, like, to me, that's not the most fun thing I could do with my life. I think for me, like, you might think what I like is boring, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I like nerdy shit. I like geek stuff. I collect Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I buy Funko Pops, and I do all sorts of nerdy shit, and I like I love anime. Well, I like certain animes. I love certain animes, and I like video games. I play a lot of video games, and I'm also I love art. I do art stuff all the time. I always want to create. And so maybe to you that's boring, right? Maybe you don't want to sit around drawing a fucking picture all day, and I get it, right? But for me, it's like, the shiznit. Does anybody say that anymore? Shiz? No. So, but of course, INFPs and INFJs are very different personality types. We're not the same types, right? We're two different types. INFPs have that introverted feeling, and that's how I tell the difference between INFJs and INFPs all the time, is that INFPs in public, right, if they're at work, they're very good with extroverted feeling. They can, talk to people and be nice and be courteous, but it doesn't come naturally for them, I don't think. I don't think their ideal situation is to be working as a server at a restaurant, or like, a upscale restaurant or something like that. I don't think that's their career aspiration. But I think for INFPs, like, I can always tell, because there's a look in their eye that just tells me that even though they're talking to me like they are being very courteous, and they're like, hey, can I take that glass for you? Or, oh yeah, the restroom is, down the hall to the left. I can look in their eyes and see that it's just not that, it doesn't come out naturally. And INFPs, correct me if I'm wrong. If you, that's given that you have listened, if you've listened this far into the podcast, that's assuming that that's the case. INFPs, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel like you guys don't really feel like that is, that's not your dream to do stuff like that. Like, you'd rather be in your room working on a song or something, maybe. I'm not sure. Or maybe, like, knitting something very nice and very complex, not just something basic. But INFJs, right? We are masters of politeness. I really do think INFJs are the most polite people you will ever meet in your life. We're so polite that we make people feel uncomfortable, as like, they're like, who is this person being so nice in a time, especially in a time like this, when it's like people are losing their jobs and their livelihoods, and are getting sick, and family members are dying. I don't like whatever's going on out there. It's all terrible, and it's all very depressing and sad. And my heart goes out to people that are really suffering through this. I'm suffering through this, if I had to be honest. Also, I lost my job, and I have been sort of unhealthy for the past 8 months. As I mentioned, my skin isn't doing so well. But that's really just the reality of the situation. But I forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Must have not been important. But anyway, INFJ. Oh yeah, INFJs. We're masters of politeness. We're really nice. We are. We're so freaking nice and so freaking courteous, and I do find myself doing that even in such just a terrible time. I'm still kind to people. I still like to be kind to people because I want to do my part. This, even in the smallest way, just hold the door for somebody. Just say please and thank you, and just have a good energy around people. And it's terrible when people think like, oh, you're just being nice because your life is probably fine. You know, you have all the money in the world and you're comfortable. You're sitting pretty. But I'm not. I really am not. I barely am able to do the things that I really care about. I feel like that sometimes, like I'm barely able to do it. But I still try to make it through. I still try to push my way through and try to be able to put out content. I'm slowly trying to accumulate my equipment here in my apartment. Just it's really has been like a grueling process for me, but I still like to stay positive and still like to spread positivity because I just try my best to make the world a better place because it's so bad sometimes out there. I don't know. I watch podcasts with inspirational people and it gives me this good feeling of energy of like, oh, these people are very decent. And as soon as it goes off and I go back into the real world, it's like, man, I wish everyone can hear these podcasts that I'm hearing. Like Joe Rogan has been like, dude, it's so like immensely helpful for me in my life because the first time I remember Joe Rogan from Fear Factor days and was always like, that guy is so, there's something about him that is like, it seems like he's really genuine and, he's a person that you feel comfortable around and you feel like things are going to be okay. Like, because like that's kind of like mostly what he did on that show was like reassure people that they're going to be fine even though they're doing things that are incredibly daunting. And but he made people feel safe, I think. The thing about he made this video that was entitled "Be the Hero of Your Own Movie," and I remember watching that and thinking, like, he was scolding me. Like, I felt like he was scolding me, and I hated it. Like, I didn't like him because I remember when he had an entire spat with Carlos Mencia, another comedian, a stand-up comedian from Honduras. His real name is Ned, and he was basically accusing Joe Rogan was accusing Carlos Mencia of stealing jokes, and I just thought that, bro, like, I think Carlos Mencia is, I really liked Carlos Mencia as a comedian. He was one of my favorite comedians. He made me laugh so hard. Him and Dane Cook, it's like weird. Like some of the comedians that made me laugh the most were the ones that were stealing jokes, apparently. But that's what it's being thrown around on the internet, and but I'm just gonna say, like, I don't know what the situation is. I just hear things on TV and on YouTube, and that's all I know. But yeah, it was such a shame. I feel like that was really what canceled Carlos Mencia, and it was like before canceling was even a thing. But I after watching that video, I felt like he was very right. The one he was talking about being the hero of your own movie, I felt like he was completely right about that philosophy. And I didn't feel like a hero of my own movie. I felt like I was an extra in my own movie, and I needed to be a hero. And after I watched that, it really sunk into me, and I realized that he was right, and I had to really fix shit up and get my shit together. I really had to start taking risks, extreme risks, to really live my life and not just sit back and be an observer and extra in my own movie, you know? I'm going on a completely freaking another tangent. Going back, okay, I'm just going to go straight back into the INFP, INFJ thing. INFPs, right, are also the other thing about INFPs is that they're much more likely to be able to just go with the flow, and INFJs are very rigid. We like to have our very special schedule. We like to make sure that we do things on time and get things done on time, and we have a strict schedule that we go by, and we make sure we're doing everything according to plan. INFPs not so much. They're able to live in the present, and sometimes they feel like censors to us because they're so good at being able to live in the present, and which is why a lot of INFPs are mistyped as ISFPs quite a bit. And ISFPs and INFPs can get along very well because of that. I feel like INFPs and ISFPs are quite naturally gravitated towards each other because they do have a lot of similarities. The only difference is the ISFP is much more practical. But I think ISFPs are great in the sense that they're the one censored types, I think, that really can appreciate the intuitives. They don't necessarily know what we're talking about all the time, and they don't really give a fuck necessarily, but they can understand. They can get morsels of that information and really take it and run with it. Unlike a lot of other sensor types, they just not really interested in what the intuitives are really going on about when they talk about their ideas, which is fine. That's just the difference. INFPs are also highly artistic. INFJs not necessarily. INFJs are not always that artistic. They are, most of the time, they are more psychological. Is that even a word? Psychological? Yeah, psychological and cerebral than they are artistic. But INFJs, for the most part, do have artistic tendencies. And also, you can almost notice the difference between INFPs and INFJs in the artwork that they do. INFJs are much more sleek and clean and minimal, whereas I feel like INFPs are all over the place. They have these bursts of ideas, and you can see these bursts of ideas in the painting that they make, or the collage, or the the craft work that they do. There's so many things that INFPs can get themselves into, and for the most part, it's very niche what they really get into, and for the most part, they go very deep and are very dedicated to that niche. And they discover that much earlier than we do because they're just so in tune with what they like. They're so in tune with what they like and they don't like that they can commit to something very deeply because they are so aware of it. Whereas for us INFJs, it's so hard for me to really commit to a single art form. I think there's a cluster of art forms that I am drawn to and I like, but it's really difficult for me to be like, this is the one thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's just too much in one thing. Like, I don't like that feeling. I like to be able to learn a little bit of everything in a way. Like, I kind of want to know everything. And for the most part, I feel like that's what a film director is that film directors they know a little bit of everything when they're on set, and they, as Christopher Nolan has said, he says, like, he just tries to be useful. He just tries to be useful, doesn't try to get doesn't necessarily get in anyone's way, I don't think. And that's kind of interesting, but I agree. I think a good director allows the people that he's hired to do their job. And I didn't realize that when I was making some short films earlier, but there's a difference because there's an auteur who really has artistic control over everything. But I don't know which is the better way. I don't think there's a clear answer. I think both are great ways of directing. It depends on who you hire and what they want to do in your project, really. And some people like to be told what to do and some people don't. So there's a difference there. The last thing I want to say is that I think INFPs really are they just have a free spirit. And we don't really get that feeling from INFJs. INFJs are quite cold, and we do have a rigidity to us. INFPs are so much more I think they can be much more welcoming, highly misunderstood, way more misunderstood than INFJs, I do believe. And they're okay with it. They don't dwell on that. They don't dwell on being misunderstood. INFJs do sometimes. We kind of sulk in our own pity about how different we are because we have that FE. There's a part of us that deeply wants to be able to be accepted by the masses, right? Because that's what a lot of our attention goes to when we are around people, right? Is other people. And it's so difficult to have that feeling for other people and yet have most people not really get who you are and not really accept who you are. They don't want to. They don't really care, which is, I think, one of the biggest contradictions and ironies of being an INFJ is why are we so focused on other people when they don't even give us the time of day, you know? It doesn't seem like it makes sense, but I guess it's different. Maybe for a hot INFJ female or something, like, I don't know, maybe it makes so much more sense for them, but for an INFJ male, it's like, dude, who the fuck are you, dude? I don't give a fuck. Sorry for all the profanity. I really do. Please excuse my French. All right, so I feel like I've spouted out all the information that I possibly can in this one video without anybody to talk to. That felt good. I really feel like I got information out, you know? I feel like I really got my thoughts out, which I don't feel that way when I'm making videos per se. So this might be a really nice change of pace, and I'm like feeling like this is might be the right way to do things right here, is like just do a straight up podcast like this. I really like it, bro. I feel like sometimes when I'm doing like a video, I just can't get all my thoughts out and I have to cut it down, and it's like, it doesn't feel authentic. But this feels good, man. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to Cliffsitems #1 podcast. Oh, well, I'm not saying that my podcast is #1 in the world or anything. I'm just saying, like, this is the first podcast ever. Maybe the first of many, maybe the first of a few, and then I'll just go back to making videos. But for now, this is the format I have to go with because I am too ugly to show myself at this current time. Thank you so much, guys, for listening and paying attention and being on this channel. It's just, I feel like we need to connect with each other because we're kind of niche right now, right? Thinking like in MBTI and like in personality science and stuff like that is pretty niche. So let's make it awesome. Let's make it cool. All right. Thanks so much. Cliffsitems signing out.